Every spell ever invented to kill a man has been used on this one. All of them work exactly the way they were designed to. None of them have ever been enough. 13,912 demons on one side. On the other, a single barbarian who will not stay dead. He is not a chosen hero. He is not a king. He is one man with a grudge, and the angels made the mistake of arming him. He has spent this entire war cutting toward one name, the demon that took everything from him, and tonight he is finally close enough to reach it. But the demons have started asking a question they hate the answer to. In a war between men and monsters, which one is he? This is how the greatest barbarian who ever lived finishes his revenge, and how it costs him 1,000 years. It starts here. Chains of raw magic lock around his body and squeeze like they mean to snap bone. A silent spell clamps his throat shut so he cannot even scream. His defenses are stripped, his strength cursed and rotting out of him. Then a blade of pure sorcery carves in to slice his whole body apart, and on top of it all, the killing spell only the highest demons can cast. Instant death. One demon after another piles on, certain this is finally the end of him. The horned one leans in, smirking, and asks if he is ready to die. But this barbarian has an answer for that. He is still standing, still breathing, still surviving everything they throw. How does one lone human go to war against an entire race of demons? They spit his name, Wolfgang, and call him a crazy, ignorant brute. And honestly, he does not bother to argue the point, because the thing towering over him is not wrong about what he has become. A massive foot slams down and the ground caves under the weight. They are right about him, he says flatly, and he agrees. He lost his mind long ago, and it was the demons who made him this way. The tally reads nearly 14,000 demons left against exactly one barbarian. The angels handed him more than 1 or 2 gifts before this war began, and one of those gifts is the reason he simply will not fall. The most useful of them all is the one the demons have come to hate. They scream at him to give up as he stalks through the dark. Regeneration, a gift from the fallen angel Uriel, and his wounds just close. He tells them to give up instead, and calls the demon a bastard for good measure. Sever his limbs and they grow right back. There is no killing this man. The demons are starting to understand exactly what they have cornered. He promises to beat every last one of them to death with his bare fists. A human who cannot die, thinning out an army one corpse at a time, and he is almost enjoying the confusion spreading across their faces. By now, even they must wonder who the real monster is, and who is the man. The count drops again, past 10,700, and it keeps falling. Over 10,000 demons massed in one place just to stop this single man. He walked into it knowing it was a trap, because he had no other choice. The reason he ever joined this holy war in the first place cuts deep. It goes back to the worst day of his entire life. A demon slaughtered his whole family, and he has never forgotten its name. Devil House. He came here because that name was hiding in this very place. The whole trap, he realizes, was Devil House's design from the start. Spears rain down out of the dark, fast enough to split the air. He does not flinch. The ambush lands exactly as Devil House wanted, and it still is not enough, because plans mean nothing against a man who cannot be put down. They sneer that he is still just a human, no matter how he fights. And then the number reads 1. One demon, one barbarian, an entire army of demons, wiped out by a single refusing to die man. Only the last one remains, and Wolfgang turns to face it. The end of the demons is in sight, and with it, the end of his revenge. After this, he tells himself, he will finally go home to Germania. He will rebuild everything the demons burned to the ground. Sail rough seas, hunt monsters, dig up treasure, and live like a barbarian again. Once again, he swears he will become the warrior he used to be. But the last demon laughs that its kind will never truly die out, and it still has one card left to play. Wolfgang will not even let it take its own way out. That is not how this ends. His revenge demands the killing blow be his, and he refuses to be cheated of it. So the demon triggers an ancient spell, absolute petrification. Stone races up his body faster than he can react. He demands to know what is happening as his limbs lock in place. Feeling drains out of him, sound fades, and his whole body goes numb. His sight blurs to nothing as he screams at Devil House not to run, and to bring back his family, the last words he can force out. His voice freezes with him, one word left hanging in the air, and there, the greatest barbarian of his age turns to solid stone. Centuries later, a kid on a school tour swears the old statue looks alive. What the kid does not know is that someone is awake inside that stone. A guide barks at the students to stop wandering off during the tour. The kid scurries back, leaving the statue behind, but the stone is starting to crack. A massive hand closes around a stranger's skull like it is nothing. Wolfgang is awake, and he tells the crowd to get out of his way. One shove sends a grown man flying like a rag doll. Panic ripples through the people around him. He rolls his shoulders, shaking off 1,000 years of stillness. Wherever he is now, it is crawling with loud, fragile humans, but only one thought actually matters to him: Devil House. Now that he can move again, he sets out to hunt the demon down. He calls up his old status window out of pure habit, and what it shows him stops him cold. The numbers make no sense at all. Nearly 1 million demons demons, over 1 million hunters, and still just one barbarian. The world he woke into is nothing like the one he left behind. Once again, somehow, the barbarian stands alone against impossible numbers, and these people around him, something about them is deeply off. He cannot figure out what exactly these humans even are. A whole crowd is losing it, apparently just because he tossed one man aside. One guy crumpled from hitting a wall, and the rest treat it like a disaster. They are absurdly weak, and now a guild guard named Kim Jin-seok steps up. The guard says he is causing trouble and demands to see some identification. He wants a hunter license and warns Wolfgang to cooperate while he is being polite. Wolfgang has no idea what a hunter license even is, and he does not take kindly to being ordered around. Nobody controls him, and he makes that very clear, very fast. The guard suddenly panics and tells him to wait because he recognizes the face. This is Wolfgang the Grape. That word, give up, is the same thing the demon screamed at him for 1,000 years. He rounds on the stranger with one demand: "How do you know my name?" A beat of dead silence hangs between them. Again, he demands to know how this stranger knows exactly who he is. A nervous woman blurts out that she is Kang Ye-rin from the Hunter Association. He tells her flatly he has no reason to go anywhere with her, so she offers the one thing that works on a starving man: food and a warm place to sleep. Even a barbarian can be bargained with. 7, so he goes along for now. In a strange metal carriage, she explains how her world handles its monsters, and she admits he himself was a target of their hunter discovery program. They mistook him for a statue until they realized a curse had frozen a living warrior. She needs fighters who can actually face demons, and those are rare. He listens, saying nothing, quietly sizing her up. He notices she keeps hesitating like she is holding something back. She catches herself and moves on. They arrive somewhere new. She slides a strange flat food in front of him and calls it pizza. He tears into it without an ounce of ceremony, and to his own surprise, the man declares it genuinely delicious. Then he eyes a fizzing dark drink sitting on the table. She tells him it is called cola and dares him to try it. She waits to see how a medieval warrior handles carbonation. The fizz startles him, but he decides the cold, sharp drink is delicious too. She's thrilled he likes it and tells him to eat his fill. Between bites, she carefully starts asking him questions. He admits everything out. The carriage window was utterly alien to him. She explains they are deep into the 21st century now. The word century clearly means nothing to him. He says he was born 1,000 years after Rome was founded, and her jaw drops. That single sentence just confirmed a theory she has been chasing. She can barely contain herself. For an archaeology-obsessed hunter, meeting a man from the Middle Ages is a dream. She composes herself just enough to keep going. Finally full, Wolfgang leans back, ready to get down to business. He cuts to the only thing he cares about. Where is Devil House? She repeats the name, not recognizing it in the slightest. She pulls up a glowing device to search their whole monster database. Nothing comes up, and she asks if Devil House is even a monster at all. He corrects her. A demon, the one that slipped away in their final battle. Kill Devil House, return to Germania, return to his family. That is the entire plan. But she has to tell him the truth. Germania fell a very long time ago. The word lands on him like a blow. Fallen? 1,000 years gone means everything he knew survives only as history. The realization hits him all at once. Everything he was fighting to get back to is already dust. For a moment, the unkillable man looks truly shaken. Still, he grits out that he has to find his family anyway. She tries gently to tell him they're already gone. He refuses to hear it, so she pivots. If Devil House still lives, together they can hunt him down. That is enough to get him on board. He knows she woke him for a reason and agrees to cooperate fully. His price is simple. She does everything in her power to find Devil House. To move freely in this era, he will need one thing: a hunter license. Luckily, he seems to qualify, though the paperwork of this age baffles him. She lays out the plan. There is an exam, and it is happening today. Pass the entry exam and he earns cash and maybe a contract with a constellation. The constellations, she says, are guardian deities living up in the stars. They single out the talented and pour power into their chosen few. He knows angels, but these star gods only appeared 15 years ago. The exam hall is packed with young hopefuls chasing the same license. She points him toward a single towering wall. It is the wall of testing, powered by the Spartan constellation Leonidas. Beat 500 points to pass. To him, the wall looks like it would crumble from a light tap. An official checks the name of the next examinee, Wolfgang the Grape. There is a pledge to sign before anyone is allowed to swing at the wall. A glowing spear materializes, the weapon of Leonidas himself. As the trial begins, somewhere a star god stirs, sensing something new in the room. Every eye turns toward the wall. The air itself starts to hum. And then, at last, it begins. An examiner calls for quiet and starts the evaluation. Wolfgang just stares, thoroughly unimpressed by the whole spectacle. But someone feels it immediately. This energy is not normal. The trial opens with a hush falling over the entire hall. The examiner calls it to order, and the first names are read out. Wolfgang watches from the back, arms crossed, thoroughly bored. Then the whole room shifts. Leonidas himself stirs, spotting someone interesting and demanding they be tested now. A star god's longing is rare, and the crowd buzzes over who earned it. First to the wall is Go Yun-ah, daughter of the famous Blue Dragon House. Her family is a hunting dynasty, led by a legendary master of the spear. She already carries a star god's aura, a provisional contract of her own. Everyone assumes the longing is for her, and hopes to see a real contract today. She winds up and strikes the wall with everything she has. The blow detonates against the stone. Her score lights up, 1254. That is pro tier, a number you almost never see from a student. She is certain the great Leonidas was longing for her and no one else. But the star god only snaps for the next examinee to hurry up. It was not her. The realization drains the color from her face. Worse, her own patron star god quits her on the spot, disappointed. She stands frozen, unable to believe she just lost everything. A cocky voice tells her to stop embarrassing herself and move aside. He mocks that a weakling like her was lucky to have a contract at all. It is Kim Jin-woo, and the crowd decides he must be who the star god wanted. His patron, the descendant of the barbarian, floods him with raw strength. He crows that as long as he's around, nobody else gets to be the star. He is convinced the longing was always meant for him. The crowd gasps at what he is about to put up. He smashes the wall for a staggering 2,039. No student has ever cracked 2,000 points before. That is C-rank territory, stronger than some working professionals. Kim Jin-woo soaks up the worship, certain he has already won. He turns to the wall expecting the star god's blessing. Instead, Leonidas thunders down at him in pure fury. Kim Jin-woo has no idea why the star god is suddenly enraged. Even his own patron seems thrown, after promising Leonidas would be pleased. The barbarian star god insists it has slain thousands of demons in its time. But Leonidas does not care about old glories. Something else has its attention. A gravelly voice tells the boy to scram. The star gods are not looking for him. Kim Jin-woo whirls on the old man and tells him to wait his turn. He snaps that the stranger's turn is long over, and he does not like being ignored one bit. The kid squares up, spoiling for a fight. Wolfgang does not even blink. He just shakes his head, almost pitying. The whole crowd holds its breath. Someone finally steps in to intervene. An examiner warns the old man not to disrespect a barbarian blessed hunter. Anger a constellation, they threaten, and a nobody like him is finished. Wolfgang offers to settle it by asking the star god himself. He gives his name and says the true descendant of the barbarian will know it. The instant he says it, the room changes. Power ripples out from the wall. The descendant of the barbarian is actually descending in front of everyone, and it addresses Wolfgang as the hero of the barbarians. Wolfgang asks, almost amused, if it is offended he called it a mere constellation. The star god instead begs forgiveness for its arrogant contractor. It pardons the boy, then notes he has been abusing the power it lent him. Wolfgang agrees the kid needs correcting, and the star god acts. In a flash, it strips its blessing away. The descendant of the barbarian cuts Kim Jin-woo off completely. The prodigy is left powerless, gaping, with no idea what just happened. Then Wolfgang turns his attention higher up the chain. He asks the Spartan star god to confirm its name, Leonidas. He warns he needs to borrow some real power and asks if Leonidas can take it. Energy crackles off his body like a live wire. The whole hall starts to tremble. Far from afraid, Leonidas is thrilled and ignites the full will of Sparta. The star god thanks him and says it likes his nerve. Then it decides to show some nerve of its own. The two forces slam together in the middle of the room. Students scream, asking what kind of monster energy this even is. The pressure alone forces the crowd to their knees. Someone realizes this stopped being a hunter exam a while ago. The truth dawns on the examiners watching from the side. He is not being tested, he is testing the constellation. The examinee is grading the star god, not the other way around. He tells Leonidas to surrender because he has no plans to lose. The star god pushes back with everything it has. Even the senior hunters can barely stay standing in the backlash. They realize that if this does not stop, people are going to get hurt. And then, just like that, all of it vanishes. The younger students are left dazed, not sure what they just survived. Wolfgang lowers his hand, finished. He decides there is nothing left for him here and turns to leave. Yerin scrambles after him, asking about the exam he never finished. The examiners are too rattled to even chase after him, because behind him, the wall of testing, Leonidas' holy relic lies shattered. A relic that was supposed to be indestructible, broken like cheap pottery, and someone is going to have to answer for it. Nearby, some hotshot hunter brags that his last monster barely gave him a workout. A number flashes, 116, calling the barbarian up to the front desk. Wolfgang steps up, stone-faced, ready to collect his license. The clerk double-checks the name of the man who just made history. Then comes the catch. Before he gets a license, he has to pay for that shattered wall. 100 million won. He has no idea whether that is a lot. They stamp him as a rank F hunter and bill him for a wall nobody thought could break. His new license comes with a card already deep in the red, a 90 million won debt. He asks reasonably whether he truly has to pay all of that himself. Sure, hunters get rich, Yerin says, but only the strong, high-ranked ones. As an archaeological hunter, she does not fight, so she scrapes by on sponsorships. An F rank only gets scraps, but Wolfgang shrugs. He can flatten 100 weaklings with one fist. He is done talking money. He wants a dungeon, and he wants it now. She explains agencies, and he compares them to the guilds of his own era. They grab your loot and your permits, which means, he notes, they take a cut in the middle. 20, 30%, she admits, but at least they handle the messy disputes. The first agency turns him away flat. They do not take foreigners. The second decides a contract with him simply will not work. They cannot find a credit rating for him anywhere because he is 1,000 years old. Every desk gives him the same cold look. Door after door shuts in his face. He cannot understand why everyone keeps staring at him like that. Yurian points out the obvious problem, the beard and the wild fur cloak. But the beard is a barbarian's pride, and the pelt once belonged to the Fenrir clan. She snaps that pride will not pay the bills. Maybe it is time to change the look. Then a slick voice cuts in, and Wolfgang barks at whoever wants something now. The stranger asks if they have been hunting for an agency all this time. He is from MU Agency, which he swears everyone recognizes and respects. Yeren mutters they are recognized all right for robbing their own hunters. He points out Wolfgang has been rejected everywhere, and he just happens to be running a generous promotion. They act like thugs, she warns, which is exactly why no real hunter signs with them. The terms are ugly, 60-40, a 3-year lock, 2 dungeons every week. Yeren calls it what it is, a slave contract he must never sign. But the second they mention 100 million bonus, Wolfgang is ready to sign on the spot. He needs 100 million, does he not? And to him, the fine print is a separate problem. The agent grins, smelling an easy mark. Wolfgang counters instead. Make it 10 years, split it down the middle. Yeren is furious. He grabbed a contract stuffed with poison clauses without blinking, but he tells her he knows contracts. In his day, a bad one with a god got people killed. So for a man who understands that so well, he lives by one rule. He repays anyone who helps him, always. And all he asks in return is a chance to find the demon that butchered his family. He made a pact with an archangel for revenge, because killing Devil House can bring everyone he lost back to life. Yeren softens. She never guessed his reasons ran so deep, but he is the first ancient she has ever met. He might just be her first great achievement, and helping him adapt feels like her destiny. An assistant interrupts. His lodging is finally sorted, and it is time to head over. Meanwhile, the shattered relic is all over the news. The man who broke it flashed on screen for a second, and people are already asking who he is. Rival agents call it an achievement that will go down in history. One of them offers to take the barbarian off Yeren's hands and claim that glory himself. She brushes it off and leaves with Wolfgang instead. The rival watches them go, unimpressed. He clicks his tongue, already scheming. Yeren frets whether the big guy will manage alone. She should have packed him some cola. At his new room, Wolfgang immediately asks when he can start hitting dungeons. 5 days a week, she tells him, with weekends off. Room 305 is now home to a medieval warrior. A phone will ping him the departure times. He just has to show up at the lot out front. She wishes him a good rest and promises to return tomorrow. Left alone, Wolfgang stares at the strange little room, baffled. First order of business, he goes looking for a latrine that does not exist. Then he hunts around for a torch to light the place. He remembers the little slab that glows with square light, but he cannot figure out how the tiny thing even works. This era hands him a debit card he does not understand either. Adapting to all of this, he admits, is not going to be easy. Out at the meeting point, a supervisor asks if everyone gathered is heading into the dungeon. The other hunters gawk at the ridiculously dressed giant in their midst. They ask if the rookie is really going in like that, and he asks why they are staring. Yeren makes him swear one thing before he goes: never attack a human. He does not see why it should matter. She warns him this world runs on very different rules than his own, and there is a second rule just as important as the first. Modern people, she says, are horrified by humans harming other humans. He is only here for one reason: the demon he has to find. He shakes his head, unconvinced these weaklings are worth the caution. But make enemies of humans, she stresses, and finding that demon gets much harder. So for now, he agrees to keep his fists to himself. He still does not get what is wrong with the way he is looking at them. The crew loads up their gear. They head out toward the dungeon. A supervisor tells him to ditch his weapon today and gags at the smell of him. Wolfgang says he will comply and starts stripping right there. The others lose it, screaming at the giant naked barbarian to stop. He genuinely does not understand the problem. Turns out he is just looking for a stream to bathe in, which only makes them yell louder. Somehow they get him dressed and moving. The regular hunters grumble about the long trip to a so-called B-rank dungeon. It is B-rank in name only. All they ever do here is scoop up dead slimes. One begs the foreman for more work to afford a promotion test he may not even pass. It is not dangerous, they say, just collecting corpses. The pay keeps shrinking, and the foreman snaps that they can quit if they hate it. The truck rolls up to the site. They thank the foreman for making the long haul out. An assistant manager, Kim Jun-hwan, has come personally for the rookie's first day. He wants to see what the new guy can do, but says there is a more pressing matter first. Something has clearly been off with this dungeon lately. Wolfgang, meanwhile, complains about the strange garb they have made him wear. They kit him out as best they can. The crew gathers around for the briefing. A gas mask will do for now, they decide, as long as he avoids the slime shards. They will tour the first floor while someone runs to fetch him a proper suit. One worker asks if a mask alone is really enough down there. The first floor is just corpses, but from the second floor down, the slimes are alive. They warn him firmly, do not go to the second floor without a suit. The job is simple: haul out the dead slimes littering the dungeon. Watch the toxic gas up top. Below that it gets worse and the veterans wave off the lecture. Wolfgang cuts in to ask whether there are even enough corpses to bother with. Then he asks how many of the big containers they have brought. A worker warns him the special glass jars are seriously unbearably heavy. 10 kilos empty, 30 when full, and he just wishes he could carry more. Asked if he has fought slimes before, he says they are too insignificant to remember. They stop to show him exactly what they are dealing with. A dead slime hardens like rock, but stays toxic. Never touch it barehanded, they warn. So of course, Wolfgang immediately grabs one with his bare hand. They panic, certain the poison is about to melt the flesh right off his fingers, except it does not. Nothing happens at all. They repeat the warning, and he ignores it again, to their horror. His skin, he says flatly, will not melt from something this weak. Then he yanks off the stuffy gas mask too, calling it pointless. They ask how he is even breathing, and he tells them to hurry up and work. He answers a whisper from the very back row. His hearing is inhumanly sharp. Later, they reach the deepest part of the first floor, and they have barely filled a single jar. There are almost no corpses down here. Normally, they would have filled 2 by now. At this rate, they will lose money. Wolfgang wants to descend another floor, and the others say it is suicide for 2 F-rankers. He offers to fill every container himself, but they would rather write today off. It is too dangerous, they insist. They have suits, and he barely has anything. Will he really be okay down there? He says yes, flatly. Besides, something else has caught his attention. He can sense it now, the aura of a demon somewhere below. Back on the surface, Yerin gets a deadline. The number is not in service, which is strange, since the agency swore it was his working phone. And it is bad timing, because a certain doctor has been waiting all day to meet him. She weighs her options. Looks like she will have to drive out to the slime dungeon herself, and really should buy a car. A pigtailed girl perks up the second she hears Wolfgang is in that dungeon. Something about him clearly interests her a great deal. She demands to be taken there immediately. Taken where exactly, someone asks. To the dungeon where Wolfgang is, obviously. Down below, the crew reaches the second floor entrance. Here the slimes are alive, wobbling, and faintly glowing. The live ones are far more toxic, they warn him. Wolfgang wades in anyway. Dropping to the second floor fills their jars fast. Soon a container is packed full, enough 100 cheers to fund his promotion test. They figure it is time to grab their pay and go. Then they notice something. Wolfgang has already gone down to the 3rd floor. He has walked straight past the warning signs. It is a restricted zone, sealed off by order of the Seongshan Guild. The others nervously call after him. Inside, he finds a slime king caged behind a barrier, the source of every slime above. A strange device, a mana injector, is what keeps the barrier alive. Slimes ooze endlessly out of a little pipe in its side. They crawl up toward the light of the upper floors, meaning the guild has been farming this prisoner and pocketing the profits. Then Wolfgang notices the air itself has shifted. Something new is stirring in the dark. It is coming down from above. The whole chamber tenses. The caged king is gorging on trash dumped from the surface. They have been feeding it garbage while cashing in on its misery. Suddenly, a strange power flares. Archangel Seraph's gift lets him understand a brand new language. It is not a sound the others can hear, and they ask what is wrong. Then it happens again. The slimes that were leaving suddenly turn and flood back toward them. They crash together into a churning mass. The room erupts. Green washes over absolutely everything. The crew scrambles back. One of them cries out for the Barbarian, and through the chaos a voice rasps 2 words. Kill me. Wolfgang stops. The thing can actually speak. Again it begs him, please, kill me. He offers a trade. Answer one question, and he will grant the wish. Does it know where Devil House is? It does not. He takes that in quietly. For a long moment, he just studies the wretched creature, the cage, the trash, the endless suffering. The crew finds him, his clothes melted away, and tells him that is enough. He tells them plainly, this creature is begging to die. The Slime King itself wants it, he says. They protest that F-rankers cannot kill a B-rank boss, and he asks if breaking the device would do it. Yes, they admit, but he absolutely cannot smash the mana injector, even if it looks that fragile. It belongs to the Seongshan Guild, they insist, so he should leave it and head back up. They keep repeating it, hoping he will finally listen, but Wolfgang has already made a promise in his head. They keep pleading with him. Leave the device alone and go back up. He does not answer. He has already decided. They scramble after him, reminding him the guild has this whole area sealed off. He tells them to move aside. He intends to keep his promise. They cry that it is too late, that their stake in all this is on the line. Then the barrier gives way, and the Slime King's cage starts to collapse. The slimes go wild all at once. He orders the others out, saying he will handle it, and a crewmate refuses to abandon him. It is about to blow. He tells them to run, and they beg him to make it out alive. He calls their worry unnecessary. Then they bolt for the exit. Alone with the caged king, Wolfgang says it is finally its turn. He shatters the barrier in a single blow, and the whole chamber erupts. Force rips through the dungeon. Dust and light swallow everything. The blast rolls outward. Topside, the managers realize the hunters are long overdue and still have not surfaced. An uneasy silence settles over the site. Then the ground itself starts to buck. Everyone panics, unsure what is happening. Feels like an earthquake tearing through the earth. Just as fast, the shaking dies back down. A manager decides to report in and go check the dungeon himself. Yerin, newly arrived, asks for a spare mask so she can go in too. She is determined to reach Wolfgang no matter what. Deep below, the freed king warns that the place is coming down and asks to be carried out. It binds itself to Wolfgang's body to ride along. The two move together through the collapsing dark. Behind them, the dungeon groans and buckles. The whole structure is failing. The crew above feels the earth heave again. It is collapsing. The Slime King has broken loose. A wall of slime surges up through the tunnels. It is gaining on them, closing the gap fast. Cursing, they realize it is right on their heels. The mass roars up behind them. Wolfgang cuts and shoves his way toward the surface. Then daylight, the entrance. One hunter gasps that he is saved before he can even finish the word, and someone half jokes that he had better not be using them as bait. The slime crashes toward the opening. Everything erupts at the mouth of the dungeon. For a moment, no one can see a thing. Then the dust finally clears, and Wolfgang strides out into the light. The Slime King rides out with him into the open air. Yerin is confused. Did he not plan to kill it? Not carry it outside? He did, he says, but he made a deal to let a lifelong prisoner see the sun just once first. The gesture leaves her quiet. Then he holds up something small and glowing. It is the Slime King's core. Pop it, the king told him, and it dies, and a share of its power passes to whoever pops it. She asks why on earth he is handing that to her. It is power he does not need, he says, and a barbarian always repays those who help him. She takes it, stunned. The king gazes at the sky, thanks him, and finally passes in the light it never had. Just then, the surface crew spots them and calls out to Yerin. The full scene comes into view. They radio for transport trucks, dozens of them, maybe 50, for a haul this massive. Yerin asks to take Wolfgang with her while the tally drags on for hours. They slip away from the chaos. She teases that he obviously caused this disaster, and he insists he merely kept his promise. He tells the driver to go, unbothered, leaving the mess behind him. Elsewhere, the search grinds on. Someone asks whether they have finally found him, because the demon devil house is still out there somewhere. Elsewhere, a suited man lingers by a van, sizing up the fallout. The night's events are about to catch up with a lot of people. Word spreads that with dozens of trucks involved, the tally will not be settled tonight. One number keeps getting repeated in disbelief. Not 150 kilos, 150 tons. Someone demands to know how that is even possible. The Xiangshan Guild leader rages down the phone. Would anyone hand over 1.4 billion won for that? For one day of F-rank labor, she snaps, and orders her man to go check the dungeon himself. That man, Kang Junmo, grumbles that his own sister throws her weight around as guild leader. Stuck with the overtime, he trudges off to inspect the dungeon and report back. Meanwhile, across town, Wolfgang meets modern plumbing. Water bursts straight out of the wall at his touch. He's genuinely amazed, demanding to know by what principle it flows. He asks Yerin if they collect rainwater on the roof somehow. She tells him to quit gawking and wash up. An important guest has waited all day, and she bought the biggest clothes she could find. He agrees to get cleaned up and dressed. He asks if this waiting guest matters to her, the leader of the archaeological hunters no less. Tomorrow she decides they will buy him proper clothes and shoes. He is starving, but she insists on greetings first before any food. She brings him to the doctor who has been waiting so patiently. She introduces the man as Dr. Cho Myung-jun. Wolfgang gives his full name in return, Wolfgang the Grape of the Wolf tribe. He figures this is the fellow in charge of all that archaeology business. Yerin steps in to smooth over the introductions. With greetings done, they finally sit down to eat. Dinner is a stack of takeout, monster chicken. She fusses over him, telling him to eat slow and wash it down with cola. Wolfgang gets to the point. He heard the doctor wanted to meet him. The doctor asks to put a few questions to him, and Wolfgang says he will answer what he can. First puzzle, how does a man from the past speak flawless, native Korean? Because he carries the protection of the angels and the gifts they gave him. The doctor has never even heard of angel. Wolfgang points out he saw their kind at the hunter exam. The doctor thinks back to that impossible day. Or, Wolfgang adds, the one they call the descendant of the Barbarian. The pieces start clicking together for the doctor. Angels, Wolfgang explains, dwarf the constellations, real power that can actually fight demons. A while later, the doctor has heard the whole story. He lays it out to make sure he is understood. In Wolfgang's age, angels and demons were at war, and the barbarian tribes were pulled in at the angels' request. The barbarians were wiped out, and the lone survivor went to war on the demons for revenge. He tore through them all and finally reached his nemesis, Devil House, and there he was cursed and turned to stone. Yerin gently promises they will find the demon. The memory tightens something in Wolfgang's jaw. His fists clench at the retelling. She apologizes for reopening the wound, and he says it is a wound he needs to keep open. Then the doctor asks one more favor. Wolfgang tells him to speak. Since Wolfgang was first found as a relic, the doctor says they have to verify he is authentic. Being called a relic to his face gives Wolfgang pause. The doctor produces a strange statue. It is a Buddha carved by his own patron, the Roof Buddha's martial artist, a Goryeo monk who won a war against the Mongols. He only needs to summon that constellation briefly to confirm the truth. Wolfgang studies the statue in silence. The doctor admits his whole career rests on proving who Wolfgang really is. Wolfgang glances over at Yerin. She pleads on the doctor's behalf, promising his help in return, and Wolfgang says he never refused. The doctor, barely believing it, is granted his permission. Power flares as the summoning begins. A towering Buddha-like figure manifests in the room. It murmurs, "Odd, the one who ended the age of chaos?" Then the Goryeo monk's spirit bows to Wolfgang as the hero who ended the holy demonic war. Wolfgang waves off the reverence. To him, it was only a half-won war. The constellation apologizes as its power quickly runs dry and fades. The proof is undeniable now. Wolfgang is exactly who he claims to be. Far away, Kang Junmo finally reaches the bottom of the slime dungeon, and what he finds stops him cold. His face twists in disbelief. The Slime King is gone. The containment chamber is destroyed. The inside stripped empty. Not a single slime left. Someone tore the whole operation apart, and it does not take long to land on a suspect. One name stands out, a hunter whose license was issued only a day ago. The guild leader orders every scrap of that man's personal information dug up. She will sue his agency, expose who he is, and lock down the evidence.